old stuff that he did, and like it's amazing to see that his love of puns and naming people after vegetables went back so far. They're so weird. They're so weird. It's out of control. I love it. Like, this girl's name is Tomato. It says so on her hat.
Hello and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 569. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Pitface, Tanserine, and Andreas Helixfinger.
Hello.
I was waving. I forgot that people can actually see us in this one.
Yes, I'm not unless someone's recording this on their phone. It's there's no visuals. We should do that one time, to secretly record bits and snippets. Oh dear, it wouldn't be that secret though. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm not recording it. I'm not.
It will be like those movie directors who let the camera roll even though the actors aren't acting on stage. Yeah. Some do that. Funny.
Capture a meltdown like in Terminator, whatever it was, with that actor saying, "You God, you idiot, walking through the scene like that. Oh my God, you yeah." But I digress. We're talking today about nostalgia and mining it for, movies and books and whatever, and how that's a big, big market these days, more than ever. I mean, there's always been a bit of nostalgia in, pop culture, but it's become so much of a thing now that, everybody realizes it. It's no longer just, something that we imagine that's happening. It's like, it's an extreme thing. It's gotten to the point where it's very hard for writers and directors and, authors and things to actually make something new. So even for authors, they get stuck doing series and things. I remember that the big issue in the 80s was that people got stuck doing sequels. They couldn't do a new film. They had always to do sequels. These days, there's a bit of that again. They stopped doing sequels for a long time, and now they've started again. But these days, it's reboots and prequels and TV series based on movies. It's bizarre. You can look up things that, like, movies that really weren't that great, and they're turned into TV series. Like what was that one? Tremors. There's a TV series of that.
Is it?
I mean, Tremors was a great film, but it's based on Tremors 3, which was a shit film. Well, but before we get too deep into the weeds, I've got to bring up the featured comic. So the featured comic this week was a feature I did. It was called something like something vaudeville, I think. Okay, yeah, it's 2 penny vaudeville. So I'm going to talk about that now. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was 2 penny vaudeville. Who's up for a single panel gag strip? You should be, because this is a great little one right here. Lots of quick, easy one-liner laughs in this comedy comic. Some of the jokes are tangentially topical and some surreal, but mostly it's just plain humor. Some of them made me chuckle, some I didn't even crack a smile, and some made me burst out laughing out loud and grin broadly. A good mix of funny for everyone. The art is highly stylized and retro, very 1950s, 60s kind of style to it. It's digital, black and white, with a color background. Very nice to look at those beautiful primary colored, bold, flat backgrounds. It really kind of highlights the comic and brings it to life and adds some real point of interest to the eye to go and look at. It's very nice to look at. It's made with a good sense of design. It really is. Obviously, the person who created it is very, very good at their design. I believe they're a graphic designer, so that's probably a good part of it. So it looks good, and it's fun and comical to read. So Two Penny Vaudeville is by Crystal Penn, and it's rated E for everyone. And that was the feature. The featured comic, of course, Two Penny Vaudeville. Okay, so after that we have the featured music by Gumwallace for the week, and Gumwallace has given us a nice little feature. What was it? It was DNR. Not DNA, not the kind of thing that makes up Andreas's helix fingers, but this is DNR. Slightly different.
Do not resuscitate.
What's that? What's that, Taz?
DNR as in do not resuscitate.
Oh, I don't know, maybe. Jeez, you'd know about that being a Red Cross doctor.
Not a doctor, I wish.
I knew you'd react against that. But yeah, it could be. Alright, so DNR, the music, I would describe it as contemplative, cool introspection, electric guitar and synthesizers waft in blue and pink waves, vibing together and relaxing. They hit a couple of stressful bumps along the way, though, where the energy is ramped up too high. They play through that and go back to relaxing. The first time, the second time it happens, they're finished and flatlined. So I think you're right, Tans. It is not resuscitated. Okay, so take it away, Gumwallace with DNR. And that was DNR. Thank you very much for that, Gumwallace. Do not resuscitate, as Tance cleverly told me. Nostalgia, guys. So what are your favourite bits of nostalgia that have been recreated? Or what would you want to be nostalgic about and have it recreated? I know there are some really terrible things that were disappointing, like Thundercats. They did shoot cats, basically.
I didn't see it. Oh no, I didn't see it.
You're probably lucky.
That was...
But was it Thundercats Roar?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of different versions of Thundercats. Of course, there's the original Thundercats, which was really cool looking for the time in the 80s. Like, realistic characters. So they were animated by Japanese people, which is why they look so great. Because the Japanese were just really awesome at figure drawing and animation. And they did a great job. The frame rate is really low, though, so it looks really choppy. Then I think there was a later version of Thundercats that was done.
I think it was in 2012. And it reimagined some of the characters, but it did it really well. Like, as a fan of Thundercats, like, I grew up with Thundercats and I'm dating myself. So, I grew up with the Thundercats, and the newer version of the 2012 was very much on point with the feeling of the show. Although it had new ideas and took the entire series in different directions than the original, but that was perfectly fine because it was Thundercats and it was awesome. And then we get this, and it's a slap. It's like
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So that, I mean, the big thing about Thundercats was that it looked like realistic characters. They were based on humans, and that was why it looked really cool. And the people who did this thing called Thundercats Raw sort of didn't understand that at all, and they created hyper stylized versions, which were like, that was the very antithesis of what Thundercats is about. CalArts. Oh, is that the style? Yeah, so they did
They
this.
say that style. I mean, there are people that don't like this tag, but this is what they said it looks like.
Which is, it's weird. It's like, okay, so the Sistine Chapel is famous for having this beautiful art by Michelangelo. So let's recreate the Sistine Chapel, but let's just cover it in giant dicks. And yeah,
Actually, I'd like to see that. I mean, it's not like saying the idea like the I'm just gonna be quiet.
It's not that really. Let's cover it in giant dicks, which could be interesting depending on how you did it. But it's let's cover it in really sloppy, not very well thought of 3-year-old drawings. Like, let's do it on the bring your kid to work day and let the kids do it.
yeah,
That's how it is. That's how it felt.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it needs to have some kind of something interesting about the way that it goes about it. Like,
Mhm.
would that be fair to say, Oz? Was it just kind of there was no real advantage to doing it that way? It didn't like serve the story any better or like serve the animation or the characters any better. It just kind of detracted the whole thing, would you say?
yeah. I'd say that it really just takes the name of Thundercats and the form of them and does something. It it basically wants to turn it into Adventure Time or Steven Universe without even having the good stuff about those. So it's doing it. It's
Yeah.
It's trying to capitalize on different properties at the same
Yeah.
time and make money out of them, and not actually be any good at either.
Something nostalgia based that came out that I really love. Um, it's a movie. I think it either came out last year or the year before last. And it's called Psycho Gorman, and it's it took almost like this Power Ranger kind of aesthetic, with like I forgot what the Japanese name is, but like the people and like the suits, the character suits and stuff like that, and the dressed up as monsters, they fight each other and stuff. It kind of took that idea and did its own thing with it, and so it's got this really dark, almost like Billy and Mandy's sense of humor about it. And basically, what it's about is it's a live action movie about this girl and her brother, and they end up unwittingly awakening a an evil overlord that's been imprisoned within the earth, and but they have control over him, just like a kind of Billy and Mandy thing, right? And so he's at the mercy of these kids, and the girl is like, she can be a little much. She can be a little annoying at times. She's kind of like this very like self-serving kind of psycho. But Yeah, the movie, I love the way it was written. It was really funny, and the character designs that they came up with for these monsters and stuff, like they weren't just like ripping off somebody's old idea. They were making new ones that looked really cool. And so basically, after this great evil wakes up, not only do his former buddies find out these other galactic monsters, but also this board of like almost kind of like sentinel, like protector beings that want to come after him now to kill him or put him back into his chamber. So now they're coming to Earth as well. So it's working up to this big battle that's going to happen, and it's just, I don't know, I liked it a lot. It's one of my favorite movies that have come out lately. And then Mandy also took like old aesthetics and made something really cool out of them. Like it was like one part revenge fantasy and then another part like neon and synth masterpiece, and Nick Cage was awesome in it. It was one of the movies that was able to like capture his energy well, and he just melded so well with it. It's fantastic if you haven't seen it. It's really good.
Mandy. Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Hmm.
I wonder if it's related to Billy Mandy.
One particular franchise from back in the 90s that pops up into my head that I think would be really interesting to see a reboot of is I don't know if you heard of it, a Saturday morning cartoon called Pirates on Dark Waters. I think it was a
Oh
Saturday
yeah,
morning cartoon. Yeah, remember that one?
yeah,
That
that was
great.
something. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Like, I look at that and I think, like, if they made a reboot of that one, that could kind of become the new Star Wars, I feel, because it was really, really huge and epic, and this fantasy world with different races and pirates, and I love pirates. Like, pirates is my thing, so that would be so awesome if they did that, I feel.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's a better pirate thing than One Piece, which it predates, and it's just.
Here you go, hating on One Piece. Here we go.
I never watched or read One Piece, so I
Well,
no idea
it's
about
much cooler. Like Pirates of Darkwater was epic, especially the bad guy ship, which was like a monster. You know, it's like a battleship.
Yeah.
That thing is huge. And the lead characters were so cool. All of them. I think there's three main leads: the hero guy, the girl, and then the experienced guy, which is a pretty standard thing.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about the third character, the rogue pirate guy, was the thing is they have this sort of own language thing going on. They have their own swear words, and how he would just use these swear words all the time. He would like to say "nojitat" and stuff like that. I love that. It brings so much more flavor to the world, make it more unique that way.
Yeah. As well as just looking so cool, that show. I don't think they ever finished it. Like
I don't think they did.
Yeah, it was really underdone. It was like cancelled before it could even get to a decent, like, even cliffhanger point. It was just cancelled. It was such a shame.
Yeah, really.
So
which is why I think it would be a cool opportunity to bring it back and finish what was started.
Exactly.
On a new foot.
It's like I think Patton Oswalt said it. Like, why are they making these reboots and of movies that were really good? Instead, go back and do a reboot of movies that were just failed, that could have been good, but didn't work, and fix them. Do that instead.
Yeah, that
And-
had potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Pirates of Darkwater wasn't bad. It was great, but it didn't end. So it's a great.
It's just kind of
Mhm.
fallen by the wayside. Like, I forget about it, but it was
Yeah.
great.
It's fallen into obscurity, and it's a shame. Big
Yeah.
shame.
Exactly. You could do that with
Maybe it's safer there.
safer. Don't touch our Pirates of Darkwater. Don't ruin it.
That's the thing. It's like whenever I hear that, oh, they are going to revisit or reboot or whatever X, Y, Z, really beloved, either franchise or even book, I have stopped feeling excited about it. I feel a sense of dread. Like,
Yeah.
I am now going to be stuck with imagery I really don't want associated with the thing that I have, like the idea that I have with the particular IP or franchise. Like, I remember, for example, take Alice in Wonderland. Now, Alice in Wonderland, for me, is not really a book for kids, in my opinion. It's a nightmare fuel in you. Like, it's nightmare. If you really consider what there is in there, it's nightmare fuel. But what we got instead was the Disneyfied version, which was like towing the line. It felt a bit like Alice in Wonderland, although it didn't really go as far as to actually depict.
Alice in Wonderland Light.
Yes, but it felt like it was like a whiff of the world,
whiff.
so that was fine. But then you get the Johnny Depp films, and
Oh,
don't get me wrong, I love Johnny Depp personally. I really like him as an actor.
yeah, same.
But man, that's not Alice in Wonderland. It has nothing to do with it. Literally nothing. And it's really unfortunate because you have this unique opportunity of Helena Bonham Carter as the Queen of Hearts. And that is awesome. She can be terrifying because she has that capacity as an actress. And you cast her as a cartoon. And that's, I don't know. I mean, it was a lot of a disappointment, I would say.
I could not
yeah.
watch that film. I got like part way in, and then I realized, oh, this isn't Alice in Wonderland. This is one of these typical stories of, oh, this brave like girl.
The chosen one stories. Yeah.
Yeah, this brave girl who doesn't want to marry a man, and she's going to be forced to marry a man. What the hell? This isn't anything. Alice in Wonderland is like a 6-year-old or something, like a 12-year-old. She's no marrying or brave like independent woman. She's a girl. Like going into a rabbit hole and experiencing this as surreal was nothing to do with self-direction and womanhood. If you want to do that story, there's millions of great stories about that. You know, reinvent.
Yeah.
That would be great as its own story. Like, you have a premise right there for something. Yeah. Just take it and make it its own thing. Yeah, because in that instance, it's not to say that people can't take IPs or whatever and make something new out of them or see them in a different light. But the thing is, that story would be better off contained within itself. Or maybe there's something else that would have suited it better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
easily, yeah.
And I have to also say that if anyone that has read the book, like the actual book, will know that there is a lot of social commentary in it. And there are a series, she goes, all these weird surreal things that Alice experiences are like little short stories, like allegories, that immediately and directly reflect on the human condition and the social situation that we are still experiencing. So you really don't need to think up of new messages and stuff. It's there in the book. Just transcribe the frigging book
and
pick the stories that
banal generic messages of this girl doesn't want to marry a person, and have like ladylike ways forced. Like, oh my god, there hasn't been like 500 million stories doing that same thing, and this story has nothing to do with it.
And the thing is, too, if you want to talk about things that modern women are still expected to do and to perform for, you could pick more current things. We're typically not forced to marry, at least in the West, like who we don't want anymore. That's not a thing anymore. There are plenty of other things you could have hit on, and that's like update it. If you're gonna update it, update it.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and guess what? It had to have it had to have the scene in it that all those shit films have. This corset is too tight. I can't breathe. I don't. Oh my god! Yeah. Give us the corset scene. We expect it.
Yeah.
Just take it off the thing. Corset.
I'm not like other girls. I don't like.
I don't like
corsets.
corsets. It's like if you were a modern girl, would you just never wear a bra? Like never?
I don't.
I'm not like
but
other girls.
I don't, but that's just because I'm indoors.
I don't
I
either.
mean, I think it would be fair to say too, like if you did update that and make it more like, yeah, I don't want to wear bras, that would be fine. But the corset thing, it's done so much that it's more just distracting. Like
it's a cliche.
It doesn't really work, and then it doesn't hit on the reason why it's just like stupid. It's just saying that like she doesn't like it. She doesn't want to wear it. Other people are fine wearing it, but I don't know. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It
You
doesn't
know what
hit
would have been awesome if you
deeply.
really want to, to do the trope with the corset, have the guts of actually having her tight lacing, like actually tight lacing, going the extra mile.
Yeah.
Because she wants to, to conform to some ideal of the era. So she's tight lacing. It's not just that she's wearing the corset. She's trying to get this wasp's waist that was a thing in a very specific era. So have her do that, and then decide to, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore.
You know what? Actually, I'd be curious to see if somebody would take that and make it a positive thing. Like it's something that she chooses, and other people say that it's a little bit too risque or it's a little bit too much.
That's
But
more
she
the
likes doing it.
realistic version, yeah. That's more the realistic version. It was like people wanted to tight lace because they were competing with each other to look good. Because the fact is that women dress for women, and it's a cultural thing that you want to impress. You want to look like other people, but you want to look better than them. It's not about impressing men. Because fashions change. If it was just up to what men wanted, then it would be completely different. Fashions would never change. It would just be, okay, boobs out all the time. That's what we want to see.
I mean, no one fashion for thousands of years. Same. That's it.
Naked. That's the fashion to appeal to men. Okay.
Sounds like an anti-fashion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, corsets, if corsets are the only thing you're wearing, that's, then. But, so it's foolishness. But
enough of this pick me girl bullshit.
So, tight lacing depicted is misunderstood in the films, and it has become a silly cliche. But, so that was Alice in Wonderland, a very poorly handled... I think the best handled version of Alice in Wonderland were the animes that were done years and years ago. There's just a brilliant bunch of animes of Alice in Wonderland. No, I'm thinking of Wizard of Oz. The best versions of Wizard of Oz were these animes, because they tackle all the books of it. Not just the, Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Yeah, they tackle Return to Oz and all the other Oz things, and they're amazing. There probably was an anime version of Alice in Wonderland. I don't know. It's out of copyright, so anyone can do it.
Let me check. I'm curious.
Look at that! Holy shit! Yeah.
So, Pitt, are you going to be do your nostalgia thing and recreate Terminator 2? As Sarah Connor?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I've always wanted nice big Sarah Connor arms.
You can be in the reboot.
So there is one 1983.
Oh,
I'm not that surprised. I'm curious to see it actually.
Yeah,
Because it wouldn't be. It's probably not like a one-to-one Disney recreation. It's probably its own thing, I imagine.
yeah, probably more cleverly
so
done. I'd like to see Hayao Miyazaki do Alice in Wonderland. I think he would do an amazing version. Studio Ghibli, that would just be, because that's his thing. He does stories about girls about that age, so why not?
Isn't he dead?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Still grumping along.
Held together by spite alone.
Exactly. Calling everything terrible. He's a great person for nostalgia because he hates everything. Oh dear. And yeah, the thing is about Miyazaki, he tackles things that are like, they exist. They're in there's books, old books and stuff like that, and he does his animation versions of them. Like the Castle of Cagliostro and Kiki's Delivery Service and things like that. They're there's, what was that one with the castle, Howl's Moving Castle, all that's stuff that people love and are nostalgic about, and he does his own version, which are usually acclaimed. People like what he does. Oh well, Tance, that's great. That is going to be the cover of this QUACKCAST.
I have never seen it, but it looks like it is its own thing and not affected by, like, influenced by Disney version of Alice. So
that looks way better than a lot of the stuff I've seen. I mean, the Disney version is a classic, and it's pretty good. I've read one of the Alice in Wonderland books. I haven't read both of them. I read the first one, which is just Alice in Wonderland. The other one's Through the Looking Glass, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was the sequel. Yeah, and the original is a good story. It's really interesting. It's, as you say, Tance, it's not written for kids. It can be enjoyed by kids, but there's more surreal kind of stuff in there. The thing people compare it to is, of course, the mistake that I made, Wizard of Oz, because it's a young character and she's a blonde girl. But Wizard of Oz is totally written,
falling into another world, and
yeah, exactly. But that is totally written for 5-year-olds. That one is completely different. That is a child's story. That's not an adult story in any way at all. Apart from the Scarecrow having a gun. But yeah, apart from that, it's very childish. People don't remember that. The Scarecrow had a gun. Did you guys remember that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and the flying monkey people rip apart the Scarecrow and
yeah, they did that in the movie too, though.
Yeah, they did. How brutal.
Yeah, that was a repressed memory, I guess. I forgot about it until now.
Oh, it's horrifying. It really is, and it's just as horrifying in the book as well.
Maybe he was into it.
Yeah. Some weird things are happening in the book, like the going to the poppy field, people falling asleep, and it actually is like opium poppies. So, yeah, but it is meant for children, and I suppose opium poppies. Children. Well, she was a children. She went and murdered the
dropping houses on people and shit.
Yeah, and murdered the other witch as well. She was vicious. But there were opium poppy fields in real life then, so it's not like a secret, clever drug reference. That was just reality. You could walk through an opium poppy field and get dizzy and fall asleep.
And, for me, the creepiest part was when they went to Emerald City. I mean, in the movie, because I haven't read the book. They went to Emerald City and they had this makeover. And somehow for me, it it always felt really creepy. Like, nuh-uh. I don't know why. I cannot really place
What
why.
do you mean makeover?
Well, they have to become more presentable to go visit Oz.
Oh, I didn't remember
So
that.
there
Whole
is this
montage.
scene where they get new hay in the scarecrow, and that for me was like
Oh,
really creepy. It's like,
It's like
okay, let's
plastic
cut you.
surgery, kind of.
Yeah,
they
it's
stuffed
like,
him.
is that okay? Is that
They filled
Did
him
you ask
out.
for consent? Did you have him sign the form?
yeah?
Do you know, speaking of nostalgia though, they did this film just a couple of years ago with I can't remember this actor. The actor who was in Pit. You know the Room. They did the
Oh,
recreation
Tommy
of that.
Wiseau.
Yeah, but you know who the actor was in the
Oh, right. I don't remember his name either.
oh
Oh, he played the Green Goblin in the like he didn't play the Green Goblin, the son of the Green Goblin in
yeah, you're right.
Spider-Man.
You're right, Tance. Yeah. Anyway, so this guy who none of us can remember his name, he was in this this Oz film, actually playing the Wizard of Oz. So it was a prequel to the Wizard of Oz. So the Oz the Great and Powerful, I think it was called, something like that.
Mhm.
So this is a story about this guy being like a bit of a con artist in a traveling carnival, and then getting into a balloon and ending up in the wonderful world of Oz and becoming Oz. And it was really good. Now this is a case of a prequel and something that mines nostalgia being genuinely freaking awesome. I loved it. It was.
I really liked it as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't received very well for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, or at least I think it wasn't received very well. I have this impression. Anyway, yeah,
that's true.
but it respected the world of Oz a lot.
Mm.
I think I remember the name of the guy now. I think his name was Greg Sestero. I think it was.
No, I think that's the other one from The Room.
Oh, okay. It wasn't that guy. Okay.
No, it's
Wait, now I have
I
to
was thinking
Google-
about the guy who was playing Mark. in the
Yes.
room. That's the guy I was thinking about.
Oh,
The
Yeah.
handsome.
Hi, Mark.
The real Mark is like super handsome. That guy's like, wow.
welcome to the webcast, the QUACKCAST, where we don't talk about comics and the shit we do talk about we can't remember.
Yeah.
James
Good.
Franco.
James Franco, that's it.
Oh, yeah, it's Franco Mintz. Okay.
But he was really good in Oz the Great and Powerful. I think that's what it's called. But it was, yeah, I recommend that as like a film that mines nostalgia. That's one. Well, if we're going to talk about comics, you can't really do. I think maybe there are some web comics that mine nostalgia. Yeah, there definitely are. Actually, there's one on Drunk Dark. What's that? Pit?
Called Putrid Meat.
Putrid Meat mines the nostalgia of the late 80s Thrasher movement. There's as well as 2000 AD, Judge Dredd, all this kind of stuff. So valid point there. There's comics on Drunk Duck that do NCIS, like fan comics, and there are a few fan comics on Drunk Duck that do things like that take a TV series or something like that and do a comic, like fan comic version. And fan comics are basically mining nostalgia because they, often take something the author really loved, like maybe Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario or something like this, or NCIS in this case, and or maybe even like Superman or Batman or something like that, and they do their own versions. So yeah, webcomic mining nostalgia is big business, and it always has been. Look at 8-Bit
And not to
Theatre.
mention,
Oh, sorry, Pit, go.
oh, you're all good. Not to mention, I mean, that is how a lot of people do get their start in webcomics. How they do get the muse to kind of start something. They go from, there's this show that I really like, and what if this happened with this character instead, or what if they met my OC, or blah 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 blah. Well, I'm just gonna draw some shitty sketches in my notebook, and before you know it, you've got tons of them lying around this whole alternate universe that you've created in your head, and then we touched on this a little bit in the video, but once the internet came around, people finally had a platform to, like, a big public platform to meet other people that were creating stories. And there's all of these alternate universes that exist from different IPs and stuff like that. And I mean, granted, they're not all great. A lot of them are probably really shitty, but I just love that people can do that. That it does come from a place of true love or passion, creativity, just something that they wanted to create for the sake of creating it. And I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome that this creative drive is being put into something that's useful. I mean, it's not entirely useful because you can't really monetize that work or do anything with it.
It's always useful. Even if you can't monetize it or monetize it enough, it always is useful because it offers a lot, both to the people that create it and also the people that consume it. Because where else are you going to find this niche version of XYZ IP?
Yeah, you find community, you find, community. There's, it turns into writing experience. It, maybe it's like even a mental outlet for somebody, it's all sorts of things.
And it can make you really famous, like the creator of 8-Bit Theater, who was one of the original webcomics, and he took the 4 characters from Final Fantasy, I think, and the 8-bit version of that game, and made himself super popular with it. It was incredible. He basically created sprite comics. He created a genre.
Well, this is a strike against what I was saying, probably for the most part, but the gray one, the 50 Shades of Grey started as a Twilight fan thing. I mean,
yeah.
I thought that's the way that you were going to go with it when you start talking about people who got famous. Then you start talking about 8-bit theater. I'm like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Didn't Twilight start as a Vampire the Masquerade fanfic before it became its own thing?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, I think it was a Nan Rice thing originally. It wasn't. I think so. And then after that we have 50 Shades of Grey because someone has to mention the elephant in the room, which was a fan fiction of Twilight. Very niche fan fiction of Twilight. So.
Yeah. So we have a whole like a family of descendants. Descendants. That's a good name for it. People like what they like. People like what they like, and they're not bad for doing that. So
no, that's totally cool.
Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, you look at a lot of animation, and you can see the where things have been influencing other things. Like Dragon Ball Z is a great little animation, and there's like all these other tournament fight animes that are sort of owe a bit of a debt of gratitude to Dragon Ball Z by doing these fight and tournament things and having characters with special powers. And Dragon Ball Z is a fan fiction in a way of Journey to the West. The Monkey King. So there you go. You could even say Dragon Ball Z is like a nostalgia version of that, because that's a super popular story in Japan and China, and less so in the West, but we still see a few versions of it. So yeah, there's been lots of different versions of Journey to the West. My favorite, now if we're talking about nostalgia, my favorite is the Monkey Magic, which was this it was a Japanese made series in the 70s, and they had a bunch of actors doing it, like mostly on sets and stuff like that. The star of it was Masaki Saki, who was this like he was a pop musician in Japan for the Spiders, who was like a Beatles kind of cover band. Yeah, there you go, nostalgia for the Beatles. And so they made him the star of it, and he's super cool. And it came to the West through this weird dubbed version in Britain, and they dubbed all the voices, and they're just so totally iconic and weird. And it was played over and over again on Australian TV, like endlessly repeated for children at about like 5:30 in the afternoon. So all kids of a certain age grew up with Monkey Magic without exception. So everybody of a certain age in Australia knows Monkey Magic, and everybody after that age doesn't. But so that's something all of Australia is nostalgic about, because we only had like maybe 3 TV channels back then, so everybody knows it, which is an amazing thing.
That's kind.
Oh, sorry.
That's,
please. Oh. No.
I was gonna say that's like how we in Sweden of a certain age remember the Moomins.
Oh.
And what was it called? The Japanese Finnish animation of the Moomins. The Valley of the Moomins, I believe it was called. It was translated in many different languages: English, Finnish, and so on.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
the Moomins. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
The family of trolls who lives in a magic valley. In a magical version of Finland.
Oh, right.
It's adorable. I remember when I was in London, this is the first time I had heard of the Moomins, actually. They had a whole store dedicated to the Moomins there, and I went in, and it was just like the most endearing little thing. I got my niece, I think it was like 4 at the time, 4 or 5, I got her a book. But yeah, that stuck with me since then, because it was just such an endearing thing. So that was something that's like kind of typically part of people's childhood and stuff there, would you say, Andreas?
Huh?
So is that like
Yeah.
like something that a lot of kids over in Sweden like watch and read a lot still?
I have honestly no idea, but they might very well do. I mean, Moomin has a long history of books and animations and movies, and some that I think are still made to this day. So it's that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so it's still popular.
I mean, I believe that they do. They still have their following, still have their popularity left. I just don't keep track of it. So, but I'm sure that's yeah.
The Moomins, cool. Yeah. So it's like fictional characters. It reminds me of like some things like the Wombles, the Smurfs, and those things like have enormous nostalgic replay value.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Candy. Anyone that saw that back in the day, it was huge in Greece.
Candy. Is that an anime?
Yeah,
I think.
Yes, it was an anime, and it was, I think, my cohort's first head-on collision with reality.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a depressing one, isn't it? Where all the characters die in a war.
Yeah, basically, yes. And I remember, like, I mean, anyone that is my age, if you tell them, like, something is as horrible as the death of Anthony, they are going to go, oh my God. Like, only my cohort. Nobody before, nobody after.
Oh, I get it. So if they're trying to explain, okay, so the whole Basil dying thing, it's as bad as the death of Anthony. And they go, oh.
Pretty much, yes. And I remember when it was shown, I mean, all the kids, boys and girls. This was not, only for boys or only for girls for some reason. I mean, both, like everyone in my cohort watched it. So the eve, like right after the day when they showed the episode where Anthony dies, it was like we had a wake in class. Like it was the quietest class and the most depressed class we had in primary school. Like I think I was around like third, fourth grade, somewhere there, and I remember like the teacher even knew what happened because she also had kids, and she had to help us cope with the grief. Like it was that intense for everyone in the class, not one exception. That's that. That's how intense it was. Yeah.
It's kind of cool being a part of a zeitgeist like
Yeah.
that, right? Where when something like that happens in fiction, you can react together. And I
Yeah.
think that's gotten big with like binge culture and stuff like that now. But there's something to it. National tragedy.
I don't know. Would you accept a reboot of that, or like a sequel or something where Anthony doesn't die?
No, actually, because although it was a terrible thing, um, then she wouldn't be able to waltz off into the sunset with Terry, who is also awesome. So, yeah. Well, she does. Technically, she doesn't waltz off into the sunset. That's wrong. That's how I wanted it to happen, and like 80% of the population again. She marries someone else that is the twin of Anthony, and she finds him again. Blah 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 blah. So anyway, I will not go into candy trivia further than this, but yeah, I wouldn't like. I would like him to have lived, but that would have completely derailed the story, and it would go into a completely different direction. So that's the thing that we hated that he died, but later on, as the story progressed, we understood why it happened, and we still hated it, but you sort of grew out of it in a sense. So
It taught you to like accept death, I suppose.
yeah, but pretty much actually, yeah. I mean, that was our first experience with grief, I guess, and loss and grief, and then working through your grief and moving on. So, candy.
Candy.
Trauma, but healing.
Every time you say candy, it brings me to mind that the lyrics from the Iggy Pop song, "Candy, I can't let you go." It brings to mind that. I wonder if he was inspired by the cartoon.
Could have been. I mean, I have to listen to the lyrics.
It probably wasn't. It's a coincidence.
It was.
What's that, Andreas? He was.
I was thinking that maybe when he was high, maybe he was high a lot.
But was he high?
I believe in an interview he said we're talking. Oh, wait a minute. Who are we talking about again?
Iggy Pop.
Oh yeah. There was. I remember in a documentary that Iggy Pop was trying to. He said he was trying to smoke a piece of spider web because he thought it would make him high. Like,
what an idiot.
Interesting.
Yes, it'll make you high. It'll burn up in 3.07 milliseconds. Those chemicals won't have time to do anything. Very flammable. Oh dear. Yeah, well, so candy is something that is big for Greece. What about you, Pip? What is the big American thing that from your particular age? was something that was really important?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is your typical like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Transformers and stuff, and all of those have been remade into movies for better or for worse.
Good point. Yeah.
I am a little bit disappointed that Biker Mice from Mars haven't had a remake.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
Street Sharks.
Yeah, Street Sharks.
So Biker Mice from Mars and Street Sharks and maybe a few more, they were trying to cash in really obviously on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was such a stupid title that Kevin Eastman and his mate came up with for this comic, like a really hardcore violent comic, and they just came up, this brainstorm came up with this weird title and then created a comic around it, like Teenage Mutant. And then suddenly we have these Street Sharks and Biker Mice from Mars and all these other things that are just doing exactly the same thing but in a really crappy version. But I think Biker Mice from Mars had a bit of a following, didn't it? And Street Sharks probably not so much. But yeah, it was a weird time where companies thought they could cash in on other people's ideas by just doing the exact same thing, but in a slightly tweaked version. Hey, we got a cool idea. Instead of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, let's make them tortoises. And
a lot of it was driven by like the toy market big time. So anything that would translate well as a toy that kids would get, you know, including like He-Man and stuff like that, and the Thundercats. I mean,
She-Ra as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was made to cash in on toy markets, but that's not necessarily to say that it was bad. For instance, the old Transformers animated movie, it was basically more. It was offensive. I still love it to this day. But I mean, it was made more or less to kind of put the Generation 1 toys to rest and create some new ones. It did it in an extremely dramatic way. And it created like this backstory, this universe that was so cool, that the cartoons didn't always live up to. But because serial things back then tend to be a bit more tropey and to repeat more and stuff like that, so it could kind of keep going indefinitely. But yeah, sometimes it produced really cool things. And you know, the my generation was introduced to more violent cartoons and stuff like that, you know. Then you would get like the moms leagues that would go all up in arms and shit like that about like robots blasting each other with guns and stuff. But yeah, it was something definitely of its time. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Definitely, the Transformers movie was so much cooler than the TV series, and because it was a movie, they had the budget. They had Orson Welles doing the voice of Unicron.
Oh my god. I can't even fucking talk either. Leonard Nimoy did the voice of Galvatron after Megatron turns into Galvatron, which is another, you know, way that they were trying to retire that old toy and create this new one to create new interest in it, but you can never put Megatron to rest. And then they killed off Starscream, but then like they ended up like in the next generation of in the next series of Transformers, they end up bringing him back as like a ghost and stuff like that, because people loved those old characters so much they didn't want to leave them be, you know. So you get the kind of Superman effect of, well, they're not really dead, they bring them back in some way or another. But
exactly that.
Yeah.
Which meant that Transformers was a prisoner to its own nostalgia when it was being actually created. They couldn't get away from that. People wanted those old characters.
What you are describing, because I never got into Transformers, although again that was also super big in Greece, together with He-Man and She-Ra and Also,
It
Knight
was
Rider.
X-Men though.
Yeah. Knight Rider as well was super popular over here with the Thundercats and stuff. But it reminds me, go back on track, of the death of Spock in Star Trek, which
Yeah.
like shook everyone
Mhm.
over here as well, and then he came back. And that's
Oh.
why we Candy people felt that we were the hardcore ones, because whoever died stayed dead, and that was it. So yes.
I believe I watched this review of, I think it was the G.I. Joe animated movie, where they actually retconned what was supposed to be the death of the main lead, the main character. Like he was being speared by one of the bad guys, the Cobras there, but they retconned and say like, oh, he's falling into a coma. And you saw blood spurting out from the spear, and he should be dead, but like, no, he's in a coma. He's gonna be fine, because and that was because of the backlash of Optimus Prime being killed in the Transformers franchise.
Yeah, that was huge. And I think I can't remember if he came back in the first generation series or in the old cartoon.
Yeah, he did.
I know that like did he eventually? Because I remember they passed the leadership on for a little bit, and they had Hot Rod, and then Hot Rod got hate because he's not Optimus Prime, and then he would fuck up and stuff. But
Hot was such a bad choice.
he
He was a rocket powered dump truck too. So I mean, what the hell? Was
he a dump truck? I don't remember.
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, after he got the upgrade when they were trying to fight their way out of Unicron, and he opens the Matrix of Leadership, and then it turned him into. I never knew quite what that was.
I think the consensus is a dump truck, but maybe that's just internet idiocy. But I don't know, maybe. But yeah, Optimus did come back. The other guy that everybody wanted to be the leader was that other truck. Whatever his name was. Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, well, he was the leader for a short time in the original movie. Yeah, because he was very much. I forgot how he started off in the series. I thought he started off as an enemy, and then he joins. If I have that correctly, then he joins the Autobots, and he's very much like a. I can't remember now.
You might be
but
right. Yeah, he was a big dumb idiot character though, so wasn't really very good.
Does anyone remember the? I didn't. I have a vague memory of seeing some of the old original Transformers animated series, but the one I remember most fondly was the new animated series that came out in the 2000s, the anime, where I remember they actually made Starscream a pretty dark and sympathetic character.
Really?
Yeah, I think they did. Like he still had this thing, oh, I want to be the leader instead of Megatron kind of thing or something. Or it was more like, he wanted Megatron's respect, but he never got it. And when they go back to at the end of the series, they return to Cybertron to fight this great evil thing. I think it was this massive transformer called Unicron that was like this big planet-like transformer that is a threat to Cybertron, and Starscream sacrifices himself there to help out the good fight.
Oh my god!
Where the Decepticon and the Autobots join forces to fight Unicron.
Oh.
And it's really touching. Like he like said, no matter what I did for you, Megatron, I was never good for you. I could never be, anything good for you, liksom. And then he sacrifices, and Megatron is genuinely sad over this, and
Wow.
it's very touching, very 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 powerful emotional chemistry there.
Wow. I'm curious to see it.
It sounds like
check it out.
shipping material to me.
If you don't think people aren't already shipping Transformers, then you haven't been on the internet long enough.
Is there like anything that they don't ship? I mean, I think there is a ship for everyone in everything. So
It's Rule 34, baby.
I'll consider myself actually being successful in comics when I find out that people have been shipping my characters.
That sounds like a big motivator. Like, oh wow, people are making fanfics of stuff I make.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
wouldn't
Although
it?
I
be
would
awesome.
be, like for me, I'm a bit boxed in, at least for now, until the characters grow up, because most of them are kids. So that would be weird. So please don't do that yet.
Oh, be
Let
quiet.
them grow up
We're
first.
making like things with Basil and all those
Okay,
characters.
that's
so
okay.
there's enough there.
Basil and Arthur.
Oh, God. Oh
There
my
you
God.
go. There you go. No, the
Oh my
priest
God.
and
War
Basil.
and peace.
No, the priest and Orestes. You got two.
Please don't ruin my
daddies.
own comic for me.
Two daddy figures.
I'd read it.
So there you go. If you're gonna do a shipping comic, you've got one guaranteed reader in the world.
on Twitter I've been following all sorts of spicy accounts. And one of the ones that I found lately is a fan art account of Lupin the Third, but where they're shipping Lupin and what's his name? Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. But it's actually good. Like, I mean, I don't know what the story's like, but the artwork's really good, and like, I don't know. I should find
awesome.
out what that's called and give it a shout out. But yeah, one of the last things, I guess not the last thing you'd expect. Lupin's had a following for a long time, but I can't remember what the other character's name was though.
Yeah, he's got the big sideburns and the hat. Cool guy character.
Yeah. You could figure it out. God, this cast.
Actually,
what is it? I can't remember.
SpongeBob. SpongeBob is it's not a bad cartoon. SpongeBob. Yeah, it's quite good. But people do have nostalgia for that, and some clever person did a brilliant webcomic about SpongeBob that's better than the actual animation or anything else that's ever been done for SpongeBob. It is the best SpongeBob thing ever, and it's a fan comic. So if you guys don't know it, it starts out like this guy this person did a just like a 5-panel comic, really simple, a 5-page comic, I don't know, just as a joke, just as a fun thing on Reddit, I think, where he shows Patrick becoming a realistic starfish. Patrick goes up to SpongeBob and says, "I'm like, SpongeBob, I'm sorry, but I never told you how starfish actually feed." And his face splits open, and it's just horrific. It becomes like a full-on horror thing. His face splits open, and he spears SpongeBob with this like his mouth, and then he fills SpongeBob with this kind of dissolving stuff, and he dissolves him and then eats him, and it's horrific. It's just really horrible. And I think there was such a reaction to this page that people just like said, "Oh man, this is amazing, do a full comic of it, do a full comic." And so there actually exists a full comic, and it just it gets epic, and it gets more epic and more epic until it's absolutely supremely just wow. The climax for this comic is one of the best webcomics I've ever read, and it's a fan comic. So if you can find the SpongeBob webcomic, do, because it is a fantastic horror comic. Yeah, it's so cool. So you guys, we've been doing this QUACKCAST for a while. We should end it now because we're like 10 minutes over time. So thank you very much for being on the QUACKCAST, you guys. Pitt, Tance, and Andreas. Helix Finger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Been a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.